Today on Encouraging Words with Ken Raby.
Greater love hath no man than he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything I have learned from the Father, I have made known to you. Jesus calls us friends.
It's all about Jesus. Live for God Studio Productions.
This is Encouraging Words with Ken Raby.
I know Utah well. My wife goes out there skiing. I have children that live in Salt Lake. So they go to Park City. I don't know. I don't ski, can you imagine? You know, that kind of thing. But I was thinking about it this week as I was traveling, and I said, there are indeed, we live in interesting times. You know? I watch way too much news, I'm told, by my children. But with the things going on college campuses and politically, there's just always something to see. It's like a sideshow at a carnival back in the old days. Please forgive me, I date myself with talking about carnivals and whatever. But we just live in a changing society. And things are so much different. I tease people all the time when it comes to business. Every business I know has changed greatly in the last 5-10 years. Businesses that weren't even around 10 years ago are now doing really well. Companies that were doing extremely well 10 years ago, you can't even find them. You know, we do things differently. I was joking. Please forgive me my lack of technical knowledge. I have had to learn to Zoom. My poor staff should get massive raises for teaching me where the buttons are. You know, because I have it on Monday, but when I come in on Tuesday, I just sit there and look at it and go, was it that one or was it that one? I don't want to call her. I better call her and have my staff come in to help me. And so it's just different. We didn't have Zoom a few years ago. Now it's like everything I do is on Zoom. You know, they don't want me to travel. They want to just, you know, have me on Zoom and that kind of thing. It's just different. But in spite of how things change, there are a few things that have become clear to me are just bedrock for us. And we just need them to exist. And we so take them for granted. Excuse me. I so take them for granted. But that is our friendships. I have friends of mine, my wife and I do, that we have raised children together, gone to graduations together, grandchildren, unfortunately premature deaths. We've seen it all with these people. We are tight because we just are that way. So let me ask you some questions. Tell me about your best friend. Who would that be if you had to name one? And tell me about that relationship, because I think in our changing society, this is something we don't probably spend enough time working on. I talk to my children all the time about working on friendships. They look at me like I've got 4 heads on my shoulders. But that's how 30-year-old children look at me all the time. So I'm used to it. But your friend, who's your best friend? I'll wait for you. I see people moving. I thought you wanted to speak. Raise your hand. Let's go. All right, in the back.
I have a friend that we've been friends for 65 years.
Wow. Good friendship. Next person. Yes, ma'am. Sir. I can't see. Yes.
I'm from GT. I got to see your high school.
Since high school? Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, high school for you was 5 years ago, so like, what's the big deal? Yeah. I'm not sure I went to high school. Someone else? Yes, sir. That was a really good answer for you. You know, sitting at a table of ladies, yeah, good move. Good move. You'll be teaching in a couple weeks. Yeah, you'll be up here, kind of thing. Someone else? Oh, yeah.
Of course, my husband's my best friend, and always has been. We've been married almost 52 years this year. The friend that I think about is the gal that I took care of when she came out to visit her family, and I took care of this vacation. She and her husband moved back to the area, and we've known each other ever since then for like 7 years. And we keep in touch and pray with prayer partners.
Who initiated that friendship?
I think it was mutual.
Kind of circumstances, maybe?
Well, I befriended her as a nurse, professionally speaking, but when she was looking to come back in the area, her husband came from the area, and she was looking for a place to worship that come to our church.
Good deal. Good deal. Someone else. Who initiates these friendships? You? Somebody else? Just happens. I heard voices. Oh, there you go.
When my family moved to Schenectady, New York, I think it was in junior high, I met a young man named Stuart Graves, and we just hit it off. And we were together until I went off to prep school. The biggest mistake I ever made in my life was losing track of him and not contact.
Just meshed. Two people just meshed. I bring this up because I find as we age, sometimes our friendship circle diminishes. Because we don't have quite as many activities, please forgive me, children's activities, to go to. I don't have ball games as much anymore. I now go to grandchildren ball games. I'm having to learn new rules about participation. We're not really into winning and losing, but we participate really well. And we have to clap certain ways and cheer certain ways, and I've had to learn some of these things with small grandchildren, and it's different, as far as that goes. What keeps you from having more great friendships? What gets in the way? Work, I heard? Age. You're too young? We don't see people as much anymore, do we? I was talking with the guys earlier about I was talking over here about eating out, and not even eating out, having food delivered. Boy, did I miss that business. I did not realize that was a major business. When it started, I thought it was kind of cute for some teenage kid. Now it's not. It's big business. No one cooks anymore, I find. I am told how lucky I am all the time that I married a farm girl who thinks everything should be cooked from scratch. Those are in short supply. I know that because my two daughters have no idea how to cook anything. Let me mention to you, my wife is she's left me. She's down in Dallas at the girls' weekend. My two daughters and her flew to Dallas. I have a child that lives there now. And they are spending a girls' weekend shopping, going shopping, I'm sure again. Spa, we're going to have spa day. I don't know what that is, but, I'm sure I will when I see my credit card. That kind of thing. And out to dinner. This is all in preparation. Please, let me show you. Your kids cannot be this silly. My two daughters and their friends are flying to Lisbon, Portugal, to see Taylor Swift concert. I dropped the phone when she dropped this on me. I said, wait a minute, who? She said, Dad, do you know a Taylor Swift song? And I go, absolutely not. Wait a minute, do you guys know a Taylor Swift song? If she didn't come to Chief Games, I wouldn't even know who she was probably. I don't know any songs. I watch those award shows and don't know any songs. But they're going to fly over to a concert in Lisbon. I teased them. I said, you obviously had too much time and too much money. Because I cannot imagine what that cost, and I don't want to ask because I would be upset with them, kind of thing. And so they are down there doing a girls' thing and working on that friendship between my two daughters and their mom as far as that goes. I want to talk to you a little bit about a friendship. Can you think of a friendship in the Bible that stands out? Wait a minute. I'm hearing murmurs. David and Jonathan, where'd that come from? Back here? Let's be the smart group back here. Okay, all right. Anyone else besides David and Jonathan? I'm sorry.
Paul and Timothy.
There you go. That's a good one. Paul and Timothy was the answer. Anyone else?
Jesus and John.
There you go. That's a good one. Well, the lucky winners are in the back. We're going to talk a little bit about Jonathan and David because I thought that would be the one that you would all recognize. We'd all know this kind of thing. So let's talk a little bit about it. If you were picking a friendship, I don't know that you would have put these two together. All right? Give you an idea. David was a shepherd when he first comes to light in the scriptures. I don't know about your world, but in my world, shepherds are not exactly a highly esteemed profession. I don't think I know any. I therefore don't know anything about them except what I read. All right? Jonathan, on the other hand, what was his occupation? He was a prince. I want that job. He was the oldest son, so he was therefore the heir apparent. I realize how special that is. In my financial work, I do business with a lot of small businesses, and I get to see the transition of power from generation 1 to generation 2. They are waiting for power. Forget power. They're waiting for money. And perks is what they're waiting for. Maybe like Jonathan was at that time. So he was a prince. Where did David live? Smart people in the back? A lot of pressure. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to say outside of Bethlehem. So, we didn't really believe it. Where did Jonathan live? In the palace. We want that gig, don't we? Sign up, that kind of thing. David was the youngest son of Jesse. Saul was the oldest son of Saul. Jonathan was, excuse me. Jonathan was 20 years older than David. Think about it. 20 years. How many friends do you have that are 20 years older or younger than you? And that's your best friend. I don't think there's a lot of people alive 20 years older than me. And I know the ones that are 20 years younger don't want anything to do with the old guy. Kind of thing. They just don't. There was an age difference there of 20 years. David was a bit of a musician. Had some physical abilities, especially as we know with a slingshot. But Jonathan was a warrior. They say with the lance or spear in my case and a sling, he was extremely good. And so they don't appear to have a lot in common, but they do. Let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 14. This is where Jonathan is first mentioned. And it's in his warrior capacity. Let's look at 14:14. And he says, in that first attack, Jonathan and his armor bearer killed some 20 men. So Jonathan had used the excuse that he was going out to do a little bit of checking things out to see where the enemy was. He saw an enemy encampment and decided that, why wait? There's me, Jonathan, and my servant. Two's enough. And he attacked and routed these 20 Philistines. And it's just amazing. In fact, this is our first mention of him, from the very beginning. Saul's army then followed up when they heard the story, and a great victory for the land of Israel happened at that point, all because Jonathan got a little bit impulsive, acting maybe prematurely kind of thing. I bring that up because that's when we first hear about it. We hear about David in the chapter 16. You know the story. Samuel the prophet comes to Bethlehem and is looking for the new future king and finds David. And this is not a ringing endorsement, but think about this introduction in verse 7. Do not consider his appearance, or especially his height. The Lord does not look on the things that men look at. Man looks on the outward appearance, and the Lord looks on the heart. If we could understand that verse well, the way God understands it, that's life-changing. Think about our society. We spend so much time on who looks, fill in the blank. We have to hear about cosmetic procedures or the denial of cosmetic procedures. And then later on, the admission of cosmetic procedures. And does anyone really care? I don't. Do your best, whatever that is, and let it go, kind of thing. But I bring that up because we're so focused on it, whether it be someone that is in the media or someone that is in politics or someone in a corporation. How you look and how you come across is everything. I know that because at a certain level in my career, I got to meet with consultants. Can you possibly imagine consultants with me? We're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and I'm sitting there going, no, I'm not going to do those things. I'm not going to do that. I am what I am, and, I'm Popeye kind of thing. It's just amazing because it's so important. It's just amazing to me that the focus we put on it, and God tells us in verse 7, the Lord does not look at the things that we look at, but the Lord looks on your heart. If we could understand that, please forgive me, with my spouse, with my children, quote unquote, with my friends, we would be so much happier, I think. We're so focused over on who looks what way or who says things. Things that appear to be so important to society are just really not that important. I don't know anything about most celebrities. I don't know about you, but I just don't. So therefore, I don't know where they live. I don't know how many homes they have. I don't know who they're dating. My daughters know all that and are free to talk about it at any time. And I just don't, because I don't know that I think it's real important. I'd really like to know the character of the person and what they think is important and how we could possibly impact people. It's just amazing as far as that. And so I think the Lord gives us his idea, and I want to keep coming back to it, that the Lord does not look at the way things the way we do. It's so important. With my age, I'll tell you, with my grandchildren, and even with my children and their husbands, not to worry about the stuff that's on the outside. I'm dying laughing. I was at a Little League game yesterday, and we don't keep score for the little people. Because it's the joy of playing baseball. And at 5 years old, if they can not play in the dirt, successful afternoon. I know that because my grandson laid in the dirt and was making snow angels in the dirt. Umpire felt compelled to kind of go, get up. I said, I don't know that boy's an athlete. I don't mean to be negative, but maybe we don't need to spend time on coaching. That kind of guy. But I bring that up because we're so focused, even with the little kids, on that kind of thing. Because while the league and the coaches don't keep score, maybe the coaches do, I don't know, the parents are all over on the side keeping exact track. And they all go 10-2. And I'm like, are we ahead? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. I was watching my grandson play in the dirt. Kind of thing. Wondering, I tried to tell my wife, he got that from the other side of the family, the Rabys, and we would have done that. Kind of thing. But I bring that up because we so focus on it, whether it's little people. And then, please forgive me, my age shows when my older grandchildren come around, they're easing into high school. And you see what they're wearing? Or in my case, not wearing? And I know, but it's all through the family when my name for everyone is I'm G, I guess that's Grandpa. But when G takes you off by yourself, he's got something to say, but you're going to get some money. So I find I can talk about the length of their skirt. This is for you. As long as there's a little something in it for the 14-year-old. And my daughter goes, that's the longest skirt she has. I said, you want me to take her shopping? I could help out. If that's what she did, we'll just get pants then. Or that kind of thing. But it's just amazing to me how important it is to the kids' appearance, and even so to us. So if you go on, we could just stop and work on this forever because that's all we do. We are so focused on it. The relationships. We make judgments. I've got new people that have moved into my neighborhood. They live right beside me. And I'll be honest, I think my wife's checking them out. How many people live there? How do they look? How do they, And I said, baby, they're moving. Who cares? They're moving in. Meet them eventually. That kind of thing. And so, but appearance is just so important to us. We make bad decision after bad decision because we focused on appearance. We can see this in 1 Samuel chapter 17. You have the story of David and Goliath. If we'd have gone by appearance in that one, how would that have worked out for you? We're all picking the big muscular guy. Who knows? He may have had a really cute looking tattoo. He seems like the guy that would do that, kind of thing. And that's critical at this point in our society. And so I bring that up because that we would clearly have chosen him. And God's just sitting there laughing, going, no. Watch what the little guy does. I think so much God says that all the time to all of us. He whispers in our ear, I don't care about anybody else. You and me are doing this. Or whatever the case may be, in that small voice where God's not looking at the outside, but he's looking at the inside. It's just so important. If you follow that up with me and go to 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 1 through 4. David had now become quite successful because of the Jonathan thing, and he was in the castle, or the palace, with Saul, and taking care of him with music and entertaining. In verses 1 through 4, chapter 18, after David had finished with Saul, Jonathan became one in the spirit with David, and they loved each other as brothers. And from that day on, David kept Saul with him and did not let him return to his father's house. But Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. This relationship appeared to benefit David far more than it did Jonathan. I bring that up because I'll note to my wife from time to time that I have certain friendships that I have to do most of the initiation. They're glad to come over if I call them. They're glad to go out to dinner if I call them. They're glad to do anything if I call them. But if I waited for them to call me, I don't know. You got a friend like that? Come on. You all do. Or a family member? Extended? That you have to be the initiator? But somehow in this situation, Jonathan was drawn to David. Benefited David far more than it benefited Jonathan. As life goes on, Jonathan took care of David. You guys all know the story. He warned him over and over again when he was in danger. It would have behooved Jonathan to not help him if his goal was to be king. But he had gave up on that because he understood that David was to be the next king. Oh, how hard is that? I have watched businesses, I have watched families fall apart because somebody didn't get what somebody wanted. X got it instead. Oh, that's hard. Family, friends. Give you a quick story. I do business with businesses, of course. So I was in business with a friend of mine. He did A and I did B. We weren't even close to the same thing. But they went together in the financial world. What I did and what he did. Worked out well. We did business together for 4 or 5 years. We traveled constantly together. 30 weeks a year. It's a lot. Doing business. Our wives were together. We got together socially on the weekends. Appeared to be tight. After about 4 years, he thought I wanted his part of the deal. I thought he was joking with me. I wasn't certified and licensed and everything to do what he did. I had no interest in it. I didn't even like it. I wanted to be really good at this. I wasn't worried about this. It bothered him to the point that over time, he eventually broke the relationship. And at this point, we barely speak because he was just so convinced that I wanted his business. We all have stories like this, whether it's a family member or it's a business situation where someone gets a little bit jealous because they perceived you one way. And you didn't, maybe that was not even true. I laugh in my situation because I wasn't licensed to do what he did, so I couldn't have done what he did if I wanted to. Why would I want to do it? We talked about everything else. We talked about his marriage problems. We talked about his problems with his kids. We talked about business problems, but we couldn't talk about him and me. Weakness on my part at that point. Should have forged it, even though it wasn't responding. But we see this in Jonathan. Jonathan repeatedly takes care of David, warns him and keeps him out of trouble, talks to Saul on his behalf. That's hard to find. In the corporate world, someone that would defend you and stick up for you like that. Give you a quick story. When I left corporate world to work for myself, I got a call from my former assistant who got elevated. He's doing really well. And he laughed. He said, "Are your ears burning?" And I go, "Oh, my ears burning." "Nope." And he said, "We just had a meeting in Los Angeles and you were the topic." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Raby was on our staff for 20 years and we couldn't control him then. Now that he doesn't work for us and he contracts with us, how are we going to control him?" He said, "We had an entire board meeting to discuss how independent you are." I said, "I've been called a lot worse than independent. If that's the worst word you use, that's a good day for me." I said, "What was this consensus?" He said, "They had none. And at the end, they came to me and they said, 'You worked with him for 7 years. What do you think?' He said, 'I'd just leave him alone. Tell him what the sales goal is and stay out of his way and he'll do it. You might not like the way he does it, but he'll get it done.'" And I just laughed and I said, "That's not bad. That's what you say about me. That's not a bad thing, kind of thing." He said, so I bring that up because these are people that a month before that had stood on a platform and recognized my achievements and thanked me over and over again. It was quite ornate. And then a month later is, what are we going to do with him? That is so the society we live in, isn't it? What benefits them is what they pursue. And they're not really worried about the friendship. I mention that distinctly because I think ultimately friendship is what we really have, and any of the efforts that we can make to focus in our life, that we're not focused on the outward, that we're focused on the inward. It would benefit us with our friends, with our family, with neighbors, with everyone. Help us focus on what's really important. I think God uses this story to me to kind of remind this over and over again. And the friends can help you. They can help you pursue something, whether it's a skill set or something. Can you think of a story where you helped a friend achieve something? They had a goal to do X and you helped them. Maybe something small. Let me give you an example. You might guess this. I have no mechanical skills. Okay? Can't fix things. Can't build things. Don't know how. My dad didn't. My dad's dad didn't. It's heredity in our family. We have a list of people that come to the house to fix things. We share the list openly, but I can't fix anything. So then you marry a farm girl who, with a little duct tape and baling wire, my father-in-law can fix anything. Truck engine, combine, just needs a little duct tape and wire. I don't know whatever, there was pressure when we had small children to build a large wooden swing set. And I decided I could do that. I'm not sure what prompted that. That was a very bad decision. I had a hard time getting the wood from my driveway to where the swing set was supposed to go. That was like a weekend. My wife goes, "We didn't get a lot done this weekend." Got it moved. At that point, I read the instructions and realized I was over my head. You ever done that? Thought, I'm going to put this together, then you read the instructions, and he said, "Oh, we better call somebody." That's me. That might not be you. You might be that person that can do that. So my friend at the time came over and looked at it, and he goes, "This doesn't look that hard." I worried about his intelligence at that point, but we set out to put it together and built a lovely swing set. Had slides, had a sandbox, had swings, made of wood, had a board at the top. It's fantastic. Let's be honest. My friend built it. I handed him things. Need some lemonade? I go get it. That kind of thing. We laugh about that story. We were talking on the phone about 2 weeks ago on his birthday, and I brought up, remember we built the swing set? He said, "You never built anything at my house." I said, "I can't build anything anywhere." He said, "But you did help me paint my house one time." And I said, "Yeah, I regretted doing that. We should have hired a painter." That was a big job to paint a house back then. But I bring that up because sometimes we enable our friends, or we help our friends, or they help us. So why I've stalled, have you come up with your story on a friend that helped you? Or you helped somebody? Put your thinking cap on. Too many to talk about, aren't there? I bring that up because it's amazing how much closer you get together when you do projects together. Now, this is from the most unproject guy there is. I find I benefit greatly in my relationship when I go watch 7-year-olds play baseball. Just the fact that I went, that I watched their game, and afterwards I always tell them, "You were fantastic. You should listen to your phone because I think the Royals could be calling. You were that good." And it doesn't matter to me whether they strike out, whether they catch the ball, because they don't. My favorite is my 5-year-old loves to slide into bases. I've never seen this phenomenon. We slide into bases when there's no need to slide in. We slid yesterday into, not first, but we slid into second, third, and home, and the inning was over. The other team was leaving the field, and his team was coming out, and my grandson is running the bases and sliding. And he's got arm movements for every slide, and you think he's doing a performance. I teased my daughter. I said, "What's he doing?" She said, "He really likes sliding." Well, he should really work on hitting so he could slide. And she said, "Yeah, we haven't got that far. He's 5. Come on." And I just laughed and I said, okay. She said, but tell him what a good slider he is and he'll be fine. I said, okay, we'll talk about it after the game. I mentioned that because our friends, we need to encourage our friends also. Whether it's something they do, whether it's something they say. We all need that encouragement. I tease my children that are growing, they're sick and hearing me, and the fact that I tell them all the time, I said, when someone does something for you and you thank them one time, it doesn't mean a thing. You're obligated to thank them one time. I said, but if you thank them a second time, and a few minutes later you thank them a third time, they understand that you are grateful. Think about it. I said, with our encouragement, if we encouraged our friends, our family, whatever, over the top, much more than the situation desires, what would that do to your relationship? The world is full of people that criticize a 5-year-old boy and tell him he's not any good at baseball. He gets that from every parent. His parents, the other parents, the coaches, everyone got creative advice for him. I'm the only one that says I think that was the best slide I've ever seen at third base. That made George Brett proud. And of course at 5, he's like, who's George Brett? And you're like, sorry, didn't mean to bring up old stuff. We were out at the stadium the other night watching the Royals Friday night. And they had all the Royals back that won the World Series, or were in the World Series in 2014. I had to identify everyone to my grandchildren because I didn't know any of them. I felt so old. You don't know Moose? Hosmer? Then I started thinking, George Brett? Willie Wilson? None of them. 0. They know Bobby Witt. I think that's the only one on the team they know this year. They know Bobby. Kind of thing. And so you just laugh because encouraging them is everything. In 1 Samuel 19, verses 4 and 5, Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, let the king do no wrong to his servant David, for he's not wronged you. And what has he done that has benefited you greatly? He has risked his life by taking his own hands when he killed the Philistines. He's participated in great victories for you over Israel, and you saw it and were glad. What would you do to wrong such an innocent man by killing him for no reason? He reminds him of all the things David does. So many times we just need to remind ourselves. Now, please forgive me. I'm aware of the fact that very few of you in here are thinking of killing somebody. But what about the negative comments we make? Really don't like that outfit. Really don't like that new hairdo. My case, we need lots loose and long on that skirt. I have said that to my grandchildren. They look at me and they go, what is he talking about? She said, well, when we went to school, that was his slogan, was lots loose and long. And she said, Dad, Grandpa, we go for short and tight. I said, yeah, I know what you go for. I bring that up because to encourage is so hard when you want to criticize. But think back on your life. I've not found a lot of my criticisms really benefited me or the situation. I hate to admit it, I've done it. I've corrected you when I thought you were wrong. I just don't think the results were good. Results were so much better when I verbally encouraged you and tried to come alongside, even though it wasn't well-deserved. I've encouraged some half-hearted efforts because I've learned that criticizing that effort doesn't ever improve. Let me speak as a spouse that's been married. Let me think here. 46 years. Okay? Criticizing the one that is I'm lucky to have doesn't make any sense. Are there things she does that bug me? Yes. Let me give you the bad side. Are there things that I do that bug her? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Gentlemen, she's a saint and she doesn't bring it up. She never says things when I leave things where they're not supposed to be. When I don't pick up what I'm supposed to pick up. We have certain chores at my house that are mine. Do you have that? Ladies, does husband do chores? I get to do nothing but the dishes. But I get to do the dishes. But there are some days when I'll walk through the kitchen, coming in at the end of the day, and the sinks will be full, and my vision is impaired. And I'll walk in and sit on the couch beside her, and my wife would be like stunned. She said, "Did you get lost?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Are you going to do the dishes?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And she goes, "You walk right by them." And I went, "Did I?" And then when I get up and go look, of course, she is absolutely correct. She baked that day, and now there's every pan we have is in the sink. She said, "I don't understand how you walk where you could touch the sink and you don't see it." Do you have any explanations for that? Anybody in here? I could sure use some help with that one. She says that to me on a regular basis, and I don't have an answer. I've tried being funny, didn't work. Tried telling her how hard I worked that day, didn't work. How lucky she is to have me, definitely didn't work. But so what we've gone to doing, please forgive me, on the island, so before I even get to the sink, at the edge of the island, there's a 3x5 card that says, "Honey, the dishes are looking for you." And she puts it on the island. She said, "I feel so stupid putting a note there." And I said, "I never miss that note." I see a 3x5 card on the end of the island when I walk into the kitchen, and it says, "Honey." I go, "That's me. The dishes are looking for it." "Oh, yeah, I need to do that." "There's no need to go sit down. I'll just do them right now." That kind of thing. So I bring that up because that's not the way we tend to think about things. We don't tend to encourage each other that way. We tend to be a little bit, "Do you forget to do the dishes again? Were you thinking of going to bed tonight with all those dishes in the sink?" Yep. That's not a good answer. You can't do that kind of thing. So I bring that up because of the fact that Jonathan spoke well of him and reminded Saul of all the great things David did. With our friends, if we could overlook their problems and talk about the good things they do, their good traits, the good things they've done for other people, even when you have to be very diligent in searching for them, you may have to really think about your good point. It's a struggle with some people. But boy, they sure could use someone to encourage them. Someone to tell them that kind of thing. We've all seen people that get caught up in things that benefit them. Our human nature does that, doesn't it? Whether it's our pride, whether it's our selfishness, it's our wanting to get ahead. Who gets credit? Oh my goodness. That's not just true at home. That's true in the corporate world. That's true everywhere. As far as who gets credit is everything. And so Jonathan and David really weren't worried that much about credit. Jonathan pursued the relationship with David even though it didn't benefit him. God blessed their relationship and Israel prospered because of that. And David then responded by taking care of Jonathan's son. When Jonathan was gone and he needed help, he took care of the son. So I bring that up because there's always advantages. Let me switch to the New Testament for just a second. John 15, verses 13 through 15. You know this one. "Greater love hath no man than he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything I have learned from the Father, I have made known to you." Jesus calls us friends. He encourages us. He expresses gratitude to us. He tries to nudge us in the right direction. So today I just wanted to talk to you about a very simple topic of our friendships. What can we do this summer to improve our friendships? Just do another level. Maybe not for a lot of people, but for one friendship. For our spouse. For our grown children when you don't want to be their friend. When you really want to correct them. I don't find I get to correct anybody over the age of 30. I don't know about you. They just don't want any correction from the old guy. Because at 30, they know. They don't need help. They come to me and tell me their problems, but I've had to learn this is hard for me. They don't want me to solve them. You have friends like this or kids like this? They really just want to vent. They want to tell you about work problems. They want to tell you about relationship problems. And I'm sitting there just storing up gem after gem. Just going, if they'll take a breath, I'll solve this. If they'll look down and pause, I got this, man. I know this. And my wife's going, they don't want to hear a thing you have to say. They just want to vent about their issue. And for you to let them vent. I don't know about you, but that's hard for me. That is so hard. I want to fix it. I don't know if that's a male thing or a female thing or what it is, but we just want to fix it. So this week, let's just encourage our friends. Let's appreciate our friends. Let's not correct them. Let's pray. Father, we so thank you for our time together to think about you as our friend and as the model for us that we could be friends like that to other people, whether it be our friends or our family. Father, that you would be glorified in our friendships the way we are glorified in your friendship. Thank you, Father. Amen. Boss man says we're all good. It's 10 till, so I think we can get out for lunch. Anybody? If you're going. Thank you so much for your attention.